This gets in my head from like Wednesday now to Friday. This is in my head.
Anytime I think of Stephen Peake, that just free your mind.
It's a jam. Shout out to the 90s.
Yeah. So, all right, here's the pique your interest for this week. I was scrolling on TikTok, and I see a post about the Canadian Football League. We're all big fans, right?
Love the CFL, the Rough Riders. Micah Johnson still playing Canadian football.
Really?
Still playing. He's probably going to be a CFL Hall of Famer. He's won Grey Cups. Yeah.
Now look,
Oxford's on there too.
We all love the Canadian Football League, but they have a rule that just doesn't make any sense. So this is the TikTok I see. The game is tied. They're attempting a field goal to win the game. He misses it by 10 yards. It's not even close, but it hits the back netting. And according to the rule book, that's worth 1 point.
So a game-winning missed field goal.
A game-winning missed field goal, and that has to be like the easiest way to win a game. I mean, you're well within range. All you have to do is hit the back net, and you win.
That sounds like a rule that you would make up while playing football with your friends outside.
You missed the field goal, but no, it still counts. It hit the back.
It's
that's like a big brother scrambling with little brother. It's like, no, technically I still win because it hit that part of the net. Blah, 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 blah.
Another rule that I think would be similar would be if you kick the kickoff through the uprights, it would be worth a point. And I think that's even more deserving.
Yeah, I think that I would actually be kind of okay with that. That rule needs to be changed. Now, I don't watch a lot of CFL, so I'm not like hung up on this, but it made me think of what other rule changes or rules we should remove or rules we should add to sports. I want to know what your all's would be. While you think of yours, I'll quickly just go through a couple of mine. Soccer games ending 0-0 shouldn't happen. If it ends 0-0, it should go directly to PKs.
No overtime?
One player
just directly to PKs. Like, because I want to see you're bringing new fans to a sport. I took new fans to a Louisville City game this past Saturday, and for those games they never end in ties. Actually, out of all 18 or 19 of their games they played last season, all of them had a result.
Huh.
They haven't had a 0-0 draw in several years. But they had one that night as I'm trying to show people come to the game. It's fun. I promise. If you go, you'll be hooked and you get 0-0.
And at least if it ends especially for a regular season game, right? Like having it go to PKs is the ultimate reward for having sat through. You're waiting for something. Okay, well at least we get to the fun stuff now.
Exactly. And you get to see the object of the game happen. And if you go to a game and it ends the same way it started, and I paid $50 to see what was. It's not a sport. It's cardio with an audience at that point. Like you're just watching guys run around for 90 minutes. So I think in that particular scenario, you each get a point. You share the point, and then it goes to PKs, and the winner of that gets a second point. So that's like one rare exception where you can get 2 points out of a match. The other one's got to be. Field goal posts need to be closer. I was looking this up last night because I've had this feeling for a while that especially in the NFL, because once they get across midfield, it's like they're basically in field goal range, especially if you play in an indoor stadium, which is becoming a little bit more prominent. Mm-hmm. The top 27 kickers in the NFL didn't miss a kick from 30 to 39 yards. The 30th best kicker in the league was Justin Hunter, and he still made 75% of his.
I push back a little bit on it because, well, TJ, I think this conversation happens often with NFL kickers, and then as soon as we start talking about how kickers are too good, they start missing a bunch of kicks.
On purpose.
Case in point, Justin Tucker last year. Just completely lost his fastball. Now, I don't know if there was...
He may have had a lot going on mentally.
If there was off-the-field stuff percolating up that may have... That may have caused him to struggle on the field, but he just got cut for off the field or for on the field exclusive reasons. The Ravens said, but my thing is every time we get to this point, then there's a huge miss and a big moment. I'm like, see,
the Ravens
still miss.
So it does happen.
The Ravens just wanted everybody to know we're firing him because he's bad at his job. What he does in his spare time, we don't know.
I said Justin Hunter. I did mean Justin Tucker, by the way. NFL
field goal posts are 18 feet 6 inches. NCAA, 23 feet, 4 inches. Thank goodness for that old miss kicker. It's not a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And then high school is also 23 4.
What's arena football? Because I would like to see maybe if you can make them that narrow. That, for one, I think actually scores will go up. Because right now, you're giving up what is a guaranteed 3 points if you go for it on fourth down.
The other reason why I don't think it's a huge issue, Peake, is because teams are so hell-bent on going for it on fourth down now when they're in that, not even fringe territory anymore. I think the reasons why some of those percentages are so high is because they rarely kick 30 to 39-yard field goals.
9 feet wide in arena football.
So that's half the size of an NFL.
I mean, hey, that might make it a little. I'm just saying at the end of the game, once you get inside the 40, the game is over. I mean, unless something that happens like 10% of the time happens, which does, when it does happen, does
the double doink.
Here's what we do. You keep them where they're at, but then you put 2 6-foot wide field goals in between them. You get it through that extra half point.
Oh, you're doing like Australian rules football.
So as long as you get them in, you get the 3 points. But if you get them in the super narrow wide one, it's an extra half point. And then we put just a rotating circle that, like, the old DVD.
Ooh, yeah.
Where the DVD you'd want to always get it perfect in the corner, but it never really would. We'll have just a rotating circle, like you throw a football through the old tire swing.
Yeah.
If they kick it through that circle, you get 2 additional points. It's a 5-point field goal.
I'm thinking that it's less about
Sponsored by Dave & Buster's.
The size of the goalposts and the fact that it's a stationary target. They should have to hit a moving target.
Oh, that would be
similar to the old basketball.
Love
not
those.
necessarily pop-a shot that would go back and forth.
Yeah.
The new goalposts would go side to side.
Love it.
So you've got to time it out right, and that puts even more pressure on the snapper and the holder.
Tell you what, if there's a Savannah Bananas football league, this is the kind of ideas they would be looking for.
I was also thinking back, Peake, when you were saying the 0-0 tie. What if teams tie 0-0, each team has to fire somebody in their support staff? Then nobody's wanting to tie. Somebody's just throwing the game at that point because nobody wants to have to fire the secretary. Like, that would be horrible. So you just don't necessarily change the rules of the game. Just make it in-house punishments if you do. Because I had a friend who also just crushes soccer all the time. And he went to that game that was 0-0. And he was going crazy in the group message.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's because if you do that, then you do allow people who hate on soccer to be like, see, the game ended 0-0, 0-0 draws. Okay, one more would be you can't punt inside of the 50-yard line, which I think could make for like some interesting decisions. Think about Mark Stoops.
I was going to say, that'd be a good way to get Mark out of the league.
No, but
how does Iowa football function?
Think about this. It's 3rd and 12. You have the ball at your own 48. Mark Stoops is taking a knee on 3rd and 12 because you could punt but if you get like 3 yards, then you wouldn't be able to punt. You'd have to go for it.
So you have to go or kick a field goal.
Or kick like a 70-yard field goal or whatever.
With the moving little target thing.
Yeah. Are there any rule changes you guys have or anything?
I legitimately, I like being silly with all the rule changes, but I legitimately hate the 2-point conversion off in college football.
Yeah.
It's got to go. It's such a crappy way to decide a winner and a loser. And I get it that, we can't play forever and people are going to get hurt. I get it. Doesn't mean I like it and that I'd agree to it. Yeah, ideally you don't play forever. And guess what? Every football game has ended in some capacity. So I hate the 2-point off. I would rather
Why?
them do it. I'd rather them because you're changing just the entirety of the game for what?
See, the for what part is the part that frustrates me because Texas A&M and LSU played a game that took forever. They said, player safety. They were so tired they couldn't play.
And now it's a 16-team playoff. We're going to be playing into February.
Somebody finally figured, I just hate that was the alternative they went to because there's a much easier alternative to all of this. Georgia Tech should not have been decided on a team's ability to convert a 2-point play. Just make it more like regular football. The reason why the regular overtimes fail is because they're already in field goal range. They start from the 25. Start it from the 50.
How about this? No field goals in overtime.
I mean, that's one too. But like, if you just start at the 50, you make them play real football longer, you're more likely to get stops in an earlier overtime.
It's just too simple, Peake, and I guess that's why it's frustrating. You could do.
I don't think it is.
Yes, hold on.
Okay, I'll let you talk.
I think every idea that we've said so far has been better than just a 2-point off, and I would agree with Roush in that capacity, where it's let's play 3 overtimes, and then after the third, no more field goals. You just have to go for it, and we'll see where we go. Or even if you wanted, like, say after 4 overtimes, then we'll go to just a field goal off. Let's see who has the best kicker at that point. That wouldn't be my preference, but instead
that would be way worse.
But that's what the 2-point off feels like. It feels like a field goal off.
I think it actually makes it to where these offensive coordinators got to get creative. It's 2.5 yards. I can't believe football guys, like you guys, like people who played the sport, that love it, football purists, if you will. They're the ones who don't like this. This is hard-nosed, 2.5 yards. It's so hard. It shows off how tough this game is, how physical it is.
But what if you're not a team that's kind of built for the 2.5 yards?
Then win the game in the regulation or the first 2 overtimes.
That was probably the plan.
That's why Georgia Tech is such a fascinating. Like that, it is the poster child of everything that's wrong with the 2-point off.
I thought it was great.
It was entertaining. But Georgia Tech played well enough to win that football game, and then they get down and they have to get 2 yards, and they forget what got them there. They overthought everything. They try to do these fancy 2-point plays that they worked on once a week in practice. Dude, do the play that worked 50 other times this game. Hand the damn ball off. And finally, when they got to the 4th or 5th iteration, Kirby Smart was like, I'm sick of this crap. We're running it through the damn A-gap. We're going to go win this football game, and that's what they did.
I thought it was theater. Like, I thought every single time they spotted the ball, it was like, here we go. It's coming down to this one play. And to me, and it's a 50-50 shot. You don't have that in any other overtime in sports. PKs, they usually make them. And we talked about PKs earlier. That's like you said, that's the reward for going through 90 minutes of a tie game, is that you get to PKs. This is college football's version of PKs. And I think it makes it creates intense drama because, yeah, Georgia Tech, maybe they played well enough to win that game, but right there it is 50-50 that they could win or they could lose. And you don't get that with baseball extra innings. You don't get it with basketball overtime. You don't get it with hockey. It is truly like you couldn't find a better way.
I don't know. I disagree, unfortunately, with a lot of what you're saying. You're already in overtime, so it's already dramatic. Anything that has been mentioned or suggested is going to be dramatic in an overtime setting, any close game. And hockey has golden goal. That's electric. That's insane. That's fun to watch. I get what you're saying in the sense that there's no other sport, I guess, besides soccer, where it's, hey, we go and then you go and let's see who wins. The NFL has a better overtime setup than at least the playoff NFL one does. But why not just do that?
Well, I honestly think the NFL overtime is the worst in sports. The fact that you can end in a tie, just put the ball at the 30, or like Nick said, put the ball at the 50, and let's just exchange possessions and figure out this a little bit better. I mean, the 2-point conversion off, or the shootout, whatever we're calling it, that is infinitely better than just ending the game with a tie. A tie in the NFL is so dumb. I cannot believe in the year of our Lord 2025 that we're letting the NFL get away with this. It's so stupid because it's not like ties happen. Like ties happen in soccer, so you have a point system for it. But in the NFL, it's just everybody has this clean 9-8, 10-7, and then there's like one team who's 10-6-1, or two teams, I guess, with an extra column.
Shout out Donovan McNabb.
Why do this? And I'll tell you this too. If the 2-point conversion, there's another reason I like it, because then it doesn't come down to some guy who has like one bar across his face mask, who doesn't have to know any plays, shanking one off the post, like we saw with Vanderbilt last year in the who did they play? Missouri, yeah. Then get this, Kentucky.
Yeah,
and their last several overtime games have all featured a missed field goal.
Yep.
Or an extra point. So, you know what's funny? The last overtime win against an FBS team, do you know who that was?
LSU.
LSU in 07.
Yeah.
I thought you said FCS.
FBS. Yeah, FCS, we had EKU.
I was thinking EKU. I was thinking
2015.
The EKU game.
Those are the last 2 overtime wins, period. Jeez.
That is kind of wild. But they
Wow.
missed an extra point. Ole Miss missed a field goal. A&M missed field goal 2009 Tennessee. Missed field goal 2007 Tennessee. So I just don't want to. Maybe I see these results and I'm like, I just don't want the game coming down to a field goal try for Kentucky to have a chance to win the game. So I'd rather just, hey, we got a 50-50 shot. Maybe if you could have got Georgia to overtime last year, you go, hey, we got a 50-50 shot to win.
I think a lot of people would just be happy if Kentucky played in overtime games against good teams. It would be a step in the right direction this year.